the Sony 50mm 1.8 with OSS. So I've been shooting with this lens for a year now, and just this lens. I shoot dance photography, I've shot a wedding, I've shot pets, I've shot family events, I've shot portraits, all with just this one lens. So I feel like I can give you guys more of a real life review or overview of what this lens can do and why I choose this one. This is not going to be a technical review. There are better channels out there with that. But this is more of my opinion on how this lens performs and why this might be the best portrait lens for Sony crop camera users. So this is a 50mm on a crop lens. So a full frame equivalent would be 75mm. The kind of background blur you're gonna get is about a 2.8. So what do I like about this lens? First and foremost, it is super fast when it comes to focusing. This is a native lens after all, and it's made for crop body. So you have the A6000, 6300, 6500, even the 5000 lines. This will work really, really well. Another thing I like about this lens is it focuses really silently. I shoot video once in a while, and the fact that I don't have to worry about the camera picking up this little, like these little clicky noises sometimes Sigma lenses make, it's a big plus. That way I don't have to have a secondary recording device and I can just use the camera. I know it's not very professional, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Another thing you'll like about this lens is the image quality. Usually the 50mm is not known for anything really. They call it Nifty 50. It's the cheapest, usually cheapest prime you can buy on pretty much any camera system. But from my research, the image quality on this lens can go toe to toe with some of the more expensive ones. And that's why, I think it's a good choice. Another thing I really like is the fast 1.8 aperture. It allows you to shoot at lower ISO, and that usually equates to better image quality. I don't mean the image itself as in, like subjectively, I meant like noise level. Compared to say a 2.8 where you have to lower the shutter speed or bump up the ISO. And if you're shooting action, that usually results in a blurrier photo. Whereas with this one, you can keep the ISO at a decent level and still be able to freeze the subject. Another thing, if you're a video shooter, you will like that it has OSS, optical steady shot. Sony claims to be 5 stops. I don't think that's even remotely close in my experience, but it does help. It would be better if you have it on a tripod or a gimbal, but if you are running and gunning, it does help eliminate some of the like those micro jitters. Not a lot, a little bit. So you still have to have a steady hand, otherwise the OSS is not gonna save you. So some of the things I don't like about this lens, they're very minor and few and far between. One of the things that you'll notice if you pixel peep is that when you shoot wide open, you will see some chromatic aberration. It's nothing really to be that concerned about. It's a very easy fix in Lightroom or whichever photo editing software you use. It's just that it's there and you should know. Second thing I don't like is the price is relatively high for this focal length. It costs $300 and it's about $100 to $200 more expensive than Nikon or Canon offerings. Granted, neither of those two have OSS, but I don't think it's worth the extra $100 or $200. But if you shoot Sony, this is what you have to deal with. They put out great camera bodies at a reasonable, affordable prices, and they get you on the lenses. Other than that, really no complaints. Now, you're not gonna hear me talk about build quality because I'm not an engineer and I haven't taken this apart. So I have no idea how it's built. I see a lot of camera gear reviewers talk about the build quality by just doing this. If it's heavy. Typically with lenses, the heavier it is means it's made from mostly metal, but that does not equate to better build quality. But from my experience after a year of using it, there's been no problem I don't typically baby my gear that much, and it's held up really well. Even the lens hood, it's so well made and so easy to put on and take off. And there's some nicks and scratches, but this is what it, it's what lens hoods are for. It's for getting rid of flares and also protect your lens. So there are obviously other lenses in this category or in this focal length or somewhere close. The first one that comes to mind is the Sony 50mm 1.8 for the full frame. It doesn't have OSS, not that big of a deal, but from what I've heard, the focusing is a little bit slow with that lens on a cropped Sony body, and focusing speed is a priority to me when it comes to lenses because I shoot a lot of action shots and I need my lens to be able to keep up with my camera, which shoots at 11 frames a second, and I shoot at 11 frames a second a lot. Another alternative is the Sigma 60mm 2.8. The reason I didn't go with that is because I feel like the 60mm focal length is a little too long because it's a 90 equivalent. So when I have to shoot somebody full body, I have to back up more, which makes communicating a little bit tougher. You have to scream and yell for them to hear you. Also, that lens is a 2.8, so it's not as fast as I'd like to be. And this has nothing to do with background blur or bokeh. It has more to do with being able to shoot at a lower ISO, which results in better image quality, which is less noise, basically. And lastly, the Zeiss 55mm 1.8. The primary reason I didn't go with the Zeiss 55 1.8 is because of the price. As of October 2018, it costs $1,000. And from what I've seen, there isn't enough upside as far as image quality goes for me to, drop $700 more. It's equivalent to more than 3 of this. I feel like the difference in price, the extra $700 would be better spent if you say take a photography class, get better lighting equipment or get some lighting equipment. If you want to shoot portraits or fashion, lifestyle, whatever, hire a model and practice on her. Practice posing, practice interacting with the models. Rent a studio so you can shoot indoors if it's, if you live in cold weathers in the winter. Or even traveling to a different location if you do a lot of landscapes. All the above will make you a better photographer than buying a more expensive lens. If you have a Sony crop body camera, the 5000, 5100, 6000, 6300, 6500, I feel like this is the best portrait lens that you're gonna get from the standpoint of price, quality, focus. Makes it almost a must-have. And at 75mm equivalent, you can actually get away with shooting indoors. It's a very versatile lens. You can also extend the focal length if you shoot JPEG by using the clear image zoom that comes with Sony cameras. So you can effectively turn this into a telephoto lens. Anyway, I hope you like my review or overview of the Sony 50mm 1.8. God damn it. So hopefully you enjoy my overview of the Sony 50mm 1.8 with OSS. I just recently bought a Sigma 60mm 1.4, and if you'd like to see a review of that, please tell me in the comments. And always, please like and share this video. Peace.